It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Oh, wow! An unprovoked war in Europe is now underway.
I don't know what you need 1,000. I mean, one bottle of baby oil goes a long way.
Okay, good. Everything's sounding good. Everything's looking put together. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin. All right, so welcome to episode 5 of Let's Be Rational. For the most part, I've been talking to myself, but that's all right. That's how these things go in the beginning, and I talk to myself anyways. That's where I figure all this stuff out. So, where should we begin today? You know what? Today's kind of going to be a little bit of a shorter week, news-wise. So, let's start with the market, shall we? If you are like myself, you enjoy the stock market and crypto, because it is a great way to make money if you know what you're doing, right? Let's recap. I said we were going to get our drop in August. And I talked about this last week. I said this looks like a good time to buy. It might not be as big as the drop that we were expecting, but I mean, look at this. This is the wick. Got as low as 619. Come on now. I bought a couple stocks on the open on Monday. So this was me. I missed out on Friday due to work, but I was able to look at some things on Friday, place some orders, which got filled here. And as you can see, we have seen a %2 climb, which at about 2.25, right? They do basis points. So anyways, that might be our dip. That might be it. I mean, last year we got a great one. Let's see, 2025, September, August. Yeah, last year. Was last year's dip. Look at this. And I'm telling you, August is known for these seasonal dips. It's weird, but it's like known. Like I said, here was the dip. August 1st, boom. August 2nd, boom. Opens up on the following Monday. It's for some reason, something always pops off in August. And it could just be the people that really have money. People say that the markets are fair. They are, if you understand that the market is rigged to go up, because the people that have all this money need it to go up. The institutions, everything. I've talked about this at length, but there are opportunities where big movements happen. This was much bigger last year. Let's see. From the top of that wick down to this one was 7%. So we got not even half of that move this year. Regardless, we're at all-time highs. We talked a little bit more about this last week as it was tech earnings. Do I think it's a good time to buy? I think if you don't have anything, you need to start considering it. If you didn't listen to me and get some last week, told you some good tech stocks, then tough luck. But AI is coming for your job, so you might as well learn how to invest. Anyways, I didn't dabble too much on this, just kind of bought some stocks I was looking into. I bought, what did I buy? Please remember the disclaimer. None of this is financial advice. It's just a hobby of mine. I like making money. This is a nice hobby to do it. What did I buy? Broadcom, Oracle. I actually cashed out a Figma at a loss. I'll pay the taxes on those. Oh, that's the second thing, man. Don't try to avoid taxes. I mean, you can use the tax code to your advantage. But the truth is, I forgot who I heard this from, but when I remember it, I'll restate it. But you either want the money or you don't. Okay? So you either want the money and you're gonna pay the taxes, or you don't want the money because you don't want to pay the taxes. You either want it or you don't. So I think that's a great line, and people need to start taking that into consideration. Now, that doesn't mean you put yourself, you just don't take any taxes into consideration. No, put yourself in the best tax scenario possible, obviously. That should go without saying. But anyways, it's been said. So as for the markets, I would, when's the Fed doing a rate cut? Is that this? No. What day is that? Okay, that's sometime here in September. So I imagine I'm kind of torn. On the last one, I knew nothing was going to happen. But on this one, I think it's 50-50 as it stands right now. I haven't seen anything that convinces me otherwise. I do need to do a little bit more research because they had mentioned something about some of our debt, like 9 trillion of our like 30-40 trillion dollars of debt is being refinanced this year, or subjected to being refinanced this year. Don't know too much about this, so I'm going to have to look into it a little bit more. I just came across this. But if that's true, it makes sense why Trump is advocating for lower interest rates, because to my understanding, the last time, or my understanding of this limited information that I received that I haven't done a lot of research on, so take this with a grain of salt, is that most of this was around, COVID era, before we jacked up inflation rates, which means it's got a crazy low number at probably anywhere from 1 to 2%. And of course, we're sitting at like 4 to 5 right now. We might even be at 6. Haven't checked recently. I'm not in the market to buy something big, and I don't have any outstanding debt. So, not really one of my concerns right now. But with that being said, yeah, if that is the case, 9 trillion may not sound like a lot, but trillions of dollars is just look up the difference between a million and a trillion in years, and hopefully you get an understanding. It's insane. Or I think they do it in days. Some kind of time analogy really puts it into perspective. Now, like I said, I know we're at 30, maybe 40. I think we're somewhere like 36, 37 trillion. That's a good portion. That's like 20%. Maybe less, depending on what the actual number is and on both sides. So, if that's the case, I say all this to say, Powell might cut rates. I put it at about a 50% right now. All this is, of course, speculation. It has to be. We're not inside his head. We don't get the data. But 2 things. I think Powell's going to, if he looks at the data and it is 50-50, I could cut rates, I could not. I think his nature is probably to be more cautious. That's what history has shown us. Makes sense. I also think if the decision was up to me and the data was 50-50, and so there wasn't a clear answer, and I got somebody harassing me, telling me to do something, a lot of human behavior says I'm going to do the opposite. And if the choice is 50-50, I ain't cutting rates. I'm not cutting rates until it tells me I have to cut rates. Remember, these people are human too. He might be a very composed guy. He might not be as loud and outspoken and as rash as our president. But do not get it confused. He is human. So I put it at about 50%. It could go either way. I haven't seen anything alarming that would indicate that he would, which makes me think one of 2 things are going to happen. He's either not going to cut anything. I guess the only thing alarming we had was the revision. I think we talked about that last week, might have been 2 weeks ago now, of the labor statistics. That could be enough to cut rates. If he does cut rates, it'll be small. It'll be like 25, 50. I think they call it basis points. 25, 50 basis points, which is like not even a whole percent. We're talking fractions of a percent. So yeah. Anyways, I digress. We'll cover that in more detail when it comes up. It's not even September yet. We are still only about a quarter of the way, almost a third now of the way through August. So if you didn't buy anything, first of all, you played yourself. I told you, waiting for weeks. That was your week. We were waiting. That was your week right there, where it went down. Now, all right. That was your week. All right. Now, here's what I have been actively trading. Actually, we'll just go into our crypto section. Some Bitcoin. Here we are. Told you it's going to dip. And I even said, I think I already covered this last week. I sound like a broken belt. Yeah, this Sunday I had to have covered it. Anyways. Price likes to, if you want to learn trading, you have to understand price action. It's all you really need to know. Price action. That's it. You don't need a whole bunch of fancy stuff. You just need to know price action. And price action typically says when there's no data at all off of a large impulse move, at some point, it's very, very, very likely. Nothing is a guarantee, but it's very likely price is going to come back, fill that area with some data, and see if it wants to stay there or go up. And sure enough, I missed this one on Saturday and on Sunday, but when it came back down to about 1200, whatever it was on this day, I went ahead, or the hour, I think I went ahead and just wrote it up to 17,000. If I didn't expect, my analysis didn't expect it to go to 18 so quick, otherwise I would have left it open, but I did go ahead and see that ETH was going to be a very profitable trade. And what this was right here was I was starting to notice the compression. And given its rally, and given the status of Bitcoin and a whole bunch of other factors, I placed a bet. I bet that it was going to go up. One that paid off quite handsomely. Got all the way up to 43. Of course, I took profits at different points, but eventually I cashed out here when you always need a rule, something that invalidates your trade. My rule was this 21 EMA. It had been respecting it the entire way. As you can see, touched, but we never closed below. And then I had an alarm set last night, so I know my girlfriend was probably mad at me. But we had to close. It was like 1 a.m. Oh, no, it was 12. Yeah, and then I closed at 1 a.m. Yep, that's right. Because it was the 1 a.m. alarm, and I had one for 2. I was like, well, if it doesn't close here, it's going to close at 2. Sure enough, it closed at 1. Closed all of my trades out. I had some speculative ones open on some coins, just kind of taking advantage of the volatility. As soon as that close happened on this open here, I closed out, which turned out to be a very good thing. Now, we have, when it comes to ETH here, ETH is known for 30-week rises, so do not think you've missed out. It's going to still probably go up for, I mean, we're only in, it'll probably go up for the rest of the year, to be honest. And it'll probably go up in more of a steady fashion because, like it or not, crypto has been taken over by traditional finance, which is great and is bad at the same time. It's bad because you're not going to get those crazy entries that you're probably now prepared for, which I'm upset about that. But you're not going to get those crazy entries because of the fact that traditional finance is in. They are more analytical. They are more long-term professional traders, right? They don't go off of news and speculation as much. They do to some degree, but that's, because they kind of can create the news. So you're not going to get the big dips, big swings that you've seen in crypto before. That world is gone. You might still get it in altcoins, in meme coins, because for the most part, they're not interested in that. For the most part. There are some VC firms that do some things there, but as a whole, a company like BlackRock is not actively, to my knowledge, dabbling in the altcoin space like they are with Ethereum, like they are with Bitcoin. Matter of fact, somebody from the SEC, why do I always have trouble with that? Someone from the SEC said that they were putting everything on chain. I'm going to digress here for just a second. This is why we call it Let's Be Rational. All you have to do is kind of look at the big picture and look at things and go, huh, that's crazy. Wonder what that could lead to. See. All right. SEC debuts Project Crypto. See, this was like the 31st to bring U.S. financial markets on chain. You're wondering why Ethereum pumped? They've been using Ethereum for transactions, on-chain transactions for commodities for years. Yeah. So if you don't understand, the world is evolving, which is what I'm trying to do here. When everybody always asks me and they want advice or they want opinions, now I just say, watch Let's Be Rational. Watch the replay. Watch it. We're going to give you a whole big picture here. Jump around to what you like. But yes, crypto is here to stay. And it's not going to be the crypto of the past. It's not going to be the thing. Oh, there's something else we got to talk about here that I did not have the opportunity to discuss. Sorry. We are live, in case you were wondering. Should have put this in the newsletter. I completely forgot about this. Completely forgot about this. Okay, we're going to get into that in a little bit. Anyways, that's Ethereum. Here's what you need to know. What you need to know is traditional finance, which in their large institutions like BlackRock and their IBITs and whatever they call Ethereum, those kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Those kind of funds, those kind of vehicles, they will open with some gaps. So what you want to see is if Bitcoin could hold 118 for the close. That would be fantastic because you're going to see a big gap. If, of course, this wants to happen right now to me. Right now to me. One of my trades is not going my way. Let's see what we're at here. Oh, might have been a bad entry. It is some pretty outsized risk rewards though, so tough. I lose a couple bucks when I stand to make hundreds. Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? You're going to want Ethereum to hold 4,200. It'd be even better if it could hold 4,250. But at least 4,200. It'll open up a wide gap for when markets open on Monday. And that'll be very beneficial. Very beneficial to support it going up and higher. You don't want to see it make all-time highs on a Sunday. It's no good. You want the big money to be involved too. People forget that. Okay. Enough of that. not a crazy amount of news to cover here that's important to the average folks. So let's just jump right into it. We've been talking about this one, of course, the tariffs. Trump has went ahead and he's not chickened out, apparently. If you're not familiar with the taco trade, he has put the tariffs into effect. We kind of talked about this last week. It's a 10% baseline across everything. And he didn't back down. He said it was going to take place on the 7th. So far, it is the 10th, and that was Thursday. Now, not too much notice there. Just notice that prices are probably going to go up. You're probably going to see that. What is very interesting, we'll jump on to the next topic here, is a meeting in Alaska. So I think yesterday, Trump announced that him and Putin would be meeting in Alaska to resolve the war. Zelensky first said he was going, I think, and then now he said he's not going. So that's going to be very interesting. But I think this is set to take place, next Friday. So that would be upcoming. So it'd be very interesting. Oh, my stop loss got hit. Lame. I'll review that later. Okay. So yeah, he's gonna meet with Putin, and maybe they will iron this out. He said he was gonna get it done. He hasn't came through on that. I'll give him a break because he is a talker. You know, he's gonna overpromise and underdeliver, but he might still deliver. He's a headline guy, if you haven't noticed. So, of course, all throughout campaigning, he was headlining. I'll get it done before we even get in office. They have a weird relationship. If you don't know why, it's because Russia has an elite hacking team, and that's where everything came from about 2016's presidential run between Donald Trump and Hillary that really derailed her career. And that even stems even further back. Okay, hold on. Okay, so from my understanding, between their weird symbiotic relationship and their kind of respect for each other comes that Russia essentially helped Trump get into office by running the greatest smear campaign to date. So Hillary wasn't doing terrible, but she wasn't still projected to win. And when the Clintons had some power, or not some power, when the Clintons had more power, Hillary, essentially, it was one of the Russian elections that I think Vladimir won. It might have been the one that put him where he is today. She essentially said it was rigged, and was very, very, very against the election and criticizing Vladimir Putin very heavily. Fast forward to 2016, Donald Trump versus Hillary is going on, and some shady news had came about Hillary and some dealings, some involvements, and Trump made a remark on stage which came to fruition where he said, Russia, you should look into Hillary's emails, and sure enough, it's all alleged, but we think rationally here, so let's just connect some dots. They're good friends. After Trump said that, the whole incident with the emails and Hillary came out. Trump wins, and they've kind of had a mutual respect ever since that. He goes, essentially, I imagine the backroom deal, not a backroom deal, but the conversations that aren't accessible to the public are like, hey, I said that on stage as a joke, and y'all actually did it and came through. I appreciate it. I respect that. I see you got a formidable hacking team. We got a couple things ourselves, and I don't know why everybody hates you guys, considering that you helped us in the Second World War, even though we had a Cold War to follow after. That's probably why everybody has a bad taste. But, you know, maybe we could work something out. So I imagine that's exactly how the conversation went to a degree. So, yeah, they're going to meet in Alaska. Will Zelensky come? I don't think so. Zelensky, Ukraine, you know, it's funny. The more I look into Ukraine, I didn't know a lot about Ukraine, but Ukraine was like involved in a lot. It's been a player on the world stage for forever, and I did not know that. That was news to me. So it only became part of my attention when all of this started happening. But of course, I was young when the other stuff happened. Long story short, they're gonna meet in Alaska. Will anything come of it? We'll see. I'll tell you what, we'll jump on over to a different part of the news, but Trump had brokered a peace deal between these two nations. Sure. Wow, you didn't even give me the option. Between these two nations here, Armenia and not even gonna try. I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna butcher it. Y'all clip it up and make fun of me for it. Anyways, this is north of Iran, east of Turkey. As you can see, there's Georgia right there, there's Russia right there. It's that little segment of the world. Let's see if I can pull up a Middle East map. See if it'll show them. What I say? They're here. So I guess they're technically not Middle East. We'll show them here. Okay. Yes, they are right there. That's the two of them. They've been bickering. This whole area always has beef. Always has beef. It's always had beef. Anyways, he brokered a deal in an area where, because Russia is actually like right there. This is Russia. Or the tip of Russia. Russia's always had a little bit of influence because they're kind of direct neighbors. But this is kind of eroding some of that, being the fact that this deal was brokered, as you can see, in America. So, maybe Trump needed a little bit more leverage. I don't know what was going on there. Did not know too much about this conflict, as these were pretty smaller nations, so it was never on the front stage. But regardless, that is Trump. Let's jump on over. We're speeding through things today. I apologize. I have a bit of a busy day, and I wanted to make sure I got this in and the newsletter out. So, besides, a lot of these are kind of stuff that we had already talked about and developing stuff that doesn't have too much to cover as of yet. You'll see with our next title following this one. The EPA cancels the federal union contracts. This is just kind of obvious for a couple of reasons why Trump is not a big fan of the EPA. He was a developer. Most developers aren't. The EPA has a lot of good laws and a lot of stupid rules and regulations. Minor stuff, right? That kind of don't make sense in a commercial or business aspect, but makes sense to somebody who sits behind a desk. So, I'm bashing them a little bit because it's kind of tedious, and I don't deal with them directly or at all, really. But from the people that I know that deal with these kind of agencies, they're just kind of like they do some good work. Don't get confused. They are there for a reason. But just like all institutions, sometimes things get a little bit annoying, things get a little bit tedious. I'm sure you got a boss or a job that has some kind of branch or something that kind of keeps you in check, and some of the rules just don't make sense. That's what they are to some degree. Some rules, obviously, common sense, but got to be enforced. Other rules, what? Okay, just paperwork. So, this should have been very clear and very obvious, and I'm not surprised by this headline because Trump has been trying to separate apparatuses from the government, essentially kind of reining everything in. Say, hey, we're going to do this all under this order, this directive. Whoever sits in this chair should be in charge. Oh, this is going to be a rambling one because we're going to ramble. Okay. You know, Trump may be a lot of things, but one of the things he does is he'll say something outrageous, and then he'll do it on a smaller scale than the outrageous statement. And something, hold on. We have to go to the conspiracy zone. Have to. Now, this is the critical thinker. This is let's be rational. So let's think critically and let's be rational. Given Trump's history and given how he does things like that, you know, he's talked about Greenland and Gulf of America, which is no longer the Gulf of Mexico. It is now recognized as the Gulf of America. English as the official language of the United States, which to me kind of always made sense, but didn't know that was a thing. Wasn't a thing. But I digress. He's always building the wall. He's always said something outrageous. But then I don't know. Like building, let's take building the wall, for example. We're going to build a wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. Well, they put tariffs, so Mexico's paying. And they built a bit of a wall. Not the whole wall he was talking about, but they built a bit of the wall. So, to me, this is a guy that throws ideas out there. He just kind of has them, you know, spontaneous. Boom, 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 boom. Throws them out. Ah, you know, that sounds great. Let's do it. Ah, Gulf of America. That sounds great. Let's do it. Right? It's a guy that has those kind of ideas, and then some of them stick, some of them don't. But the ones that stick, he actively pursues. And one of the ones that I don't think enough people are talking about is the third term. Now, let me be honest. I don't think he should have a third term for the simple reason as this. If we allow people to start having a third term by skating the law indirectly through a legal loophole, which businessmen are known for, then we're going to have bigger problems on our hands. That's going to open the door for more corruption. Here's what he could do. Or I don't know if this is true. So we're going to speculate hard on this one. We're going to speculate hard. But J.D. Vance is a young guy. He's liked by the Republicans and by Trump admirers, but he's not exactly old enough to be president. He doesn't have enough expertise under his belt, wisdom under his belt. I think the good thing about having an older president is that they've seen some stuff. And I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just saying he's probably got another 5 to 10 years of learning. And then he could be a formidable candidate for the Republican Party. But let's say, I don't know, let's say 2028 he's running. Oh, let's say he wins. But let's say while he's running, he announces his vice president, former president, Donald Trump. Huh. Well, if he does that, I don't know if there's any laws against that directly. And technically, Donald Trump wouldn't be president. You can see where I'm going with this, but say Vance wins, gets into office, and decides I'm gonna step down. You know, I think I'm gonna appoint my vice president as president. I just think it's a conspiracy that not many people are talking about because it's not exactly a conspiracy. If you're looking at the game like a chessboard politically, it could work. First of all, no. Please give me some new candidates to choose between on both sides. let's talk about this. We need new candidates. Where are the people in their 50s? Where are they? Why we got all these old politicians running? They just smoking everybody else, have enough name recognition, have enough money and donors that they can actually get something done. Like, where? On both sides, I need something to actually choose between. I'm sick and tired of this lesser of the two evils. No. God, this is America. We couldn't get some quality people on both sides? Come on now. Anyways, that's enough of my political talk. Can't change it. Something you should be aware of, and which I think throwing it out at the beginning of your term isn't really... everybody overlooks it. You just got into office. It's Trump. He says a bunch of things. But wait 4 years and see. Honestly, I think he's way too old in 4 years. Way too old in 4 years. But you never know. Never know. Okay. EPA. Trump has kind of been cutting. I mean, look at Doge. They've been cutting everything across the federal government. It makes sense that the federal union contracts are now being canceled. Okay, let's talk about a topic that I don't have a lot of information on because it is like yesterday night, but something that we should cover and that I haven't seen get a lot of attention, which I think is odd because the shooting took place at the CDC, the infamous CDC from COVID. I say infamous. It's the only big facility for diseases in America to handle it on that kind of government scale. So it's like the only place it could happen. But the shooter, some guy, went to go shoot up the CDC. Now, on first reading this news, there's not enough information. Excuse me. On first reading this news, there's not enough information. And there's just assumptions. I think some of the assumptions could very well be logical. The blame for COVID and him being suicidal. But there's nothing... It just happened like 12 hours ago. So there's nothing confirmed. There's no statements. There's no nothing available to the public. But the articles are all leaning to the fact that this was political rhetoric. This was because of RFJ Jr. and his stance on vaccines and his strong distaste for COVID vaccines. And I'm not defending the man here. He said some pretty outlandish things, let's be frank. They all do. But there's not enough here that tells me why he did it. If I had to speculate and I had to guess, it'd be around the same topic. Yes, I would agree that he is blaming something that came out of the CDC or was directly linked to the CDC for whatever his mental health problems were. Because let's face it, if you're going to go shoot up a bunch of innocent people, you have a mental health problem, concern, issue that needs to be addressed. That, or you have a vendetta, and you are explicitly looking to seek revenge on somebody. So, unfortunately, all we really have is speculations. I looked at a couple articles. This was kind of the best one that I could find. I think their leaning might be correct, but I cannot confirm. I cannot confirm nor deny. Anybody that's seen Mission Impossible? Can't confirm or deny what his actions are. Never heard anything of it. They say that his dog died. They said that his dad called. His dog died. And here we go. Here it is. The father and his son had been upset over the death of his son's dog and became fixated on the COVID vaccine, according to the official. What official? Who? Huh? What? See, when you get a vague story like this, the news is just trying to put something out and they kind of lean the story into what they think is the most likely. Don't blame them. They got to get something out. But I think their leanings in this one are probably closer to the truth. It is probably centered around something around vaccines or just COVID in general. My gut tells me it has something to do with COVID, but we'll have to see. I mean, it could have just been that, not even anything about the vaccine. It could have just been that COVID ruined his life and the policies that they put in place. I don't know if he owned a business. I don't know if he was laid off on the when they told him to return to work. Like, there's a million things that could have happened. All you need to know is that somebody shot up the CDC, and we don't exactly know why, but we know what the CDC does. So, yeah. Damn, I'm a rambler. We're already at 42 minutes. All right, let's close this up. Kettlebells, huh? Interesting. Okay. This should come as no surprise, because guess what I told you guys 2 weeks ago? I said Israel will not stop until Gaza is eradicated, until they own all of the land that was split and given to them so weirdly by the United Nations. And when I say weirdly, not weirdly that they were given land, the way the land was divided was almost like putting two people that hate each other in a ring and say, may the best man win. I kind of broke that down, but last week, but yes. They have, God, this advertisement banner is heavy, CNN. Netanyahu has announced, we're actually going to take the entire strip through military force. Oh, shocker. And I told you this would happen. Matter of fact, I said there will not be a Gaza in 10 years, and I just said that it probably wouldn't take 10 years at all. Why? Because of two reasons. One, how the world is responding to this. Most of the world isn't doing a damn thing. Oh, we'll give him aid. We'll give him aid. We'll maybe condemn him here or there. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Oh, don't do that. But at the end of the day, we're watching a full-scale war, and the type of war where there's only one winner. Because the other the other party will be dead. All of them. And you will not have a Gaza at this rate, maybe a year. There won't be a single Palestinian. That's just the way that the world is working right now. And that's the way that Israel is moving. And that is with nobody getting in the way, like a bigger power. I mean, hell, we gave Israel aid in the event for Iran. And here's the thing. Once they take over Gaza and it all becomes Israel, for any of you who knows a little bit about the Middle East, Israel does not get along with any of those other countries. So the question becomes, what's next? Who's next? Because Israel has been founded off of the belief, or not off of the belief, Israel has been founded, and their sole mission is to survive, to be Israel unequivocally, and to not be attacked. And that means to attack our enemies. Ironically. Yeah, I think Netanyahu is going to take Gaza, and then within 5 years, you're going to see a Middle Eastern conflict, probably a full-scale war between, 3 nations at least, 4 or 5 if superpowers get drawn into it. So there's that. I spent a lot of time on that last time, so we're not really going to talk too much about it. Let's jump into OpenAI. OpenAI has released ChatGPT 5. What you need to know is, oh, look at that. They're talking about it. What you need to know is that this is apparently supposed to be legitimate Ph.D. level experts. Well, what you also need to know is that the world hasn't really been liking ChatGPT 5. They got rid of their 4.0 model, and people have said, no, bring it back. We do not like 5. So OpenAI's got some work to do, but AI is moving quick, and I do think it'll be bigger than the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution changed the workplace, removed a lot of jobs. Prepare yourself. AI is coming for yours. Last but not least, what I was talking about at the beginning, and what I've been seeing all over social media, is that companies like X, YouTube, even heard GTA will do it too. They're all going to. They just want your ID. They want to know you are who you say you are. They're all of a sudden really concerned about the age of their customers. We want to make sure that it's people old enough to use our products and our platforms. There was an assigned reading by George Orwell, not by him, by one of his books. What was it, 1984? Is that what it's called? Yeah, 1984. About a dystopian world, and I'm glad they made us read this, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about here, because this is a small step. Like, here's the thing. Convenience is always going to be traded for lack of freedom, more control. And so, unfortunately, I will not be one subscribing to this. If you ask me for my ID, I will not be using your platform anymore. Now, it's different if you're like a bank, you got laws and restrictions, a trading software. Like, there's reasons why you ask for that information. And it's primarily for tax and various legal regulation. But don't tell me these companies like Google and X, which has they got some AI like model and all don't tell me these companies all of a sudden now have the best interest for kids at heart. This is a move in a bigger play, and please be rational. And maybe you could use a year or two without social media. Go out, connect, have some conversations. That's what I'll be doing. If all of a sudden I can't use my Instagram, if I can't use YouTube, and you're wondering why the channel stops, that's why. It's because, first of all, the NSA can already get their hands on all of this stuff if they really wanted to. And I'm sure they keep a big database of everybody in Utah and various other places. But it's not easy and requires a lot of resources to do it. Can it be done? Absolutely. But it requires a lot of resources. Don't make it easier for them. Because governments overreach all the time, all throughout history. Just look at history. Most governments fall because of overreach. This is scary. This is scary right here. And it should freak a lot more of you guys out that this is going to be a thing. And unfortunately, they are great chess masters, and they're doing this at the right time. If they do it with GTA 6, and that's the start of it, everybody's going to do it that wants to play the game. They're going to be like, all right, too bad. I've been waiting so long for this game. I want to do it. I want to play it. And they're going to take that path. Personally, me, I don't care. I didn't really play GTA that much. And I'm not missing out on anything if I don't know it. Please be rational. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude episode 5 of Let's Be Rational. Did a lot of rambling here. I thought this was only going to be like a 25-minute. We doubled it. It's 50 minutes. With that being said, for all friends and family, if you guys wonder why I keep recommending you guys here, because all the questions that you guys ask me, I cover in here. What's my opinion? What do I think? What am I trading? It's all here. You want to know what's going on? It's all here. Until maybe they make me put my ID in, and then it's not going to be here no more. All right. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a good one. Peace.